Hello, this is going to be a quick video showing you another option for creating a one-pager when students may be listening to a nonfiction podcast episode, and another way that we can kind of collaborate as a classroom and create maybe a curated playlist of options for kids to listen to. So I'm going to shrink me down right away and we'll just get going here. So this is an example of something that I've done with a second grade group of kids. We had talked before about the Wow in the World episode with the jumping spiders, and you saw the example of the auto draw. This time we are going to be using Google Slides to make something similar. And this example was made by second graders. There we go. Made by second graders. And the intention here when we were doing this was that kids could be listening and then they could be creating a visual reference guide for other students who may come and listen to this episode at a later time. So you could imagine maybe giving your students maybe, let's say, between 10 and 20 episodes or podcast episodes that would be available for them to listen to. And then over menu time or listen to reading time or whatever way you structure your classroom, they could be choosing one of those episodes to listen to. And then while they're listening, or after they're listening probably, make a Google Slides one-pager that references the show. So this is that same episode that we talked about with the auto draw. You can see that this student, second grade student, found a picture of a red-faced jumping spider. He gave it a caption. Males have red faces to attract females. And then another picture of a jumping spider with another caption. We had some of the habitat information that was given in the episode, and then this is actually a screenshot of the slide, so I can't show you, but this red box, which has the title, of course, also is a link to the podcast. And so what we did was there were a whole list of episodes across the left, so each slide had its own episode, and when kids would come and look at it, they could click on that link. It would take them directly to the episode, and then while they're listening, they have a visual reference guide, something to look at, and give them that visual. Because I'm someone, if I'm listening to a podcast about jumping spiders, I would Google image search an image of a jumping spider just because I like to see what that might look like. So I did that with my graduate class, and these were the ones that they made, but I'm going to show you just really quickly how we can make it. And I actually just realized I need to move my screen just a little bit because I'm going to utilize this button down here. In Google Slides, this is a button that if you're not familiar with, and you work with kids, it would benefit you to become familiar with it, because the Explore button down here opens a pane on the side. Gotta slide myself up just a little bit further, or just out of the way. There's not a good spot for this, huh? Let's put it down here. Okay, the Explore button opens this pane, and we can search. You and kids can use this to search for information, to search for other documents within your Drive. But one of the better uses of this, or uses that I've used it for, is to find images. So if I listen to a podcast on bees, I could search for bees and hit enter, typed in bees, hit enter. So as I said, here's some information. These are web links. I could click here and find if I have any files in my Drive, but images is what I'm going to use here. These are good because we're not having kids flip back and forth between tabs to find images. And they can do that. Lots of times kids can handle that, but especially if you're working with younger kids, keeping it all in this one pane is kind of more useful for them. But then also we know that these images, Google has filtered these images so that they're appropriate, but also they are free to use. We have copyright, or we're allowed to use them. There is not a copyright restriction on using them in a project like this. So if this is the picture of a bee I like, I can click on it and it'll show it to me bigger. Here we go. And I can decide if that's the one I want. If it is, I can click insert, and it takes a second, but it will pop it in. There we go. And then it also keeps a link so you can find where it was from, and I can resize it. Always grab from the corner to resize it so we don't stretch it or distort it. Another way to add the picture directly, if you see this one and you know you want that one, you can immediately click on this plus insert image, and it's going to do the same thing rather than showing you that big one at first. So I could choose these two and resize them, maybe put them kind of how I want them, and then click on the T for text box, draw a text box, and I'm just going to keep a basic caption right now. This is a bee gathering pollen. I don't know if that's what's actually happening, but we'll say it is. And then we can do all the things that we can generally do with text boxes. We could change the size, and change the font if we want to. And we could continue doing that. We could have labels and captions as I just did here. And then we can also put in a box maybe that has the name of the episode. So that's sort of what that student did right in the middle. They typed the name of the episode. So this one would be Unbelievable Bees. And I can center that within that if I want. I can change the fill color. Maybe since we're doing bees, I like yellow, and make words a little easier to read. I'm just choosing sort of random fonts right now. You could be a little more choosy when you're doing it. Unbelievable Bees. I already had the tab open with that episode. So I'll come here and I will highlight the URL. Can right click and copy or use the Control or Command C shortcut to copy it. Come back here, choose the thing I want to be the link. So generally I encourage kids to make the link the title. That makes sense to me, and I think it would make sense to our audience. So I click on this box and I can insert link. And it tells you right there, I'm on a Mac, so it's Command K, or Control K is also the shortcut for that. So choose link, and it says paste the link here. I right click because I had already copied it. I choose paste and apply. And so now when someone's viewing this slide, they can click that and it would take them directly to the episode. It would open a new tab. I'm not going to show you any more building the slide, but kids do a really good job with this, especially when you utilize that Explorer pane on the side, and they can play around with some organization. They can really go a little more in depth. I'll show you a couple from the graduate class. The students did this listening to an episode of their choice. So this person read The Case of the Sparkly Mineral. If you click on it, it would take you to the episode, which was, I forget what this comes from Tumble, which is a great science podcast. And we could listen to the episode right there. They gave us some facts from it. I'll scroll down and find one that maybe did the activity in a slightly different way. Here, this one with a sort of fancy background, and it sort of gives you they sort of gave you things that are releasing dopamine in our system when we're using smartphones, and that's sort of the science behind why they're so hard for us to put down and for us to quit. This can be done very basically. As I showed you, this was done with second graders. They can handle it. It takes them a little while, but these are all skills that are going to benefit them down the road, and especially if you plan on using Google Slides for any purpose, which I encourage you to do. This is a great way for them to practice some of those Google Slides skills, but then also, as I said, maybe comprehend the text that they listen to and prepare something that allows their classmates to see something as well. And that is one more example of a way that you could use a one-pager and Google Slides to do so.